Yo, status is first, a certificate at my birth. Made my blessing of life a curse. Going in my mom's purse and my dad's wallet. Doing things I shouldn't be doing, but I lack knowledge. No ancestral homage, only knew Tanjim and Lamsey. On the other side, only knew Popeye and Granny. I learned a lot, not enough streets taught me to eat by hustling. Never knew the Moabites or muscle men. Only muscle men I knew lifted weights on bars. Most of my heroes from my hood looked through bars. Punchers in backs faced with scars. Told me store weed in jars. Get freedom, they just wanna see stars. Saying things change when you live on a range where grown men don't act their age and act in rage as he turns life's page and welcomes change. Can't be black, that hex keeps your minds enslaved. Don't be offended when we say we not black. Moors have a status, they can't make us a stat. Might be a ball cap, not a fez we rockin'. Moorish, more aboriginal, Moroccan. Don't be offended when we say we not black. Moors have a status, they can't make us a stat. Might be a ball cap, not a fez we rockin'. Moorish, more aboriginal, Moroccan. It's not just me, my people are tripping. Playing racism and prejudice, playing the victim. Victimizing themselves, won't be responsible. Still calling Inquisition, clan, highwayman, constable. An officer, KRS-One told you overseer. Faith is lost in fruition, open slap a believer. Believing when the root of believers lie. Conscious coons love to debate, I don't know why. Passing collection plates, conscious ties get paid. Followers dumb, it's not where you at, but where you from. Too many mental blockages, clear you some. Like phlegm on your chest, correct your status, Moors would hear you son. With no stress or arguments, we forever students. Feel no way to dead a nuisance. Stabbed to death with facts and truth. Left black and blue, facing the corner with a dunce cap on you. Don't be offended when we say we not black. Moors have a status, they can't make us a stat. Might be a ball cap, not a fez we rockin'. Moorish, more aboriginal, Moroccan. Don't be offended when we say we not black. Moors have a status, they can't make us a stat. Might be a ball cap, not a fez we rockin'. Moorish, more aboriginal, Moroccan. Flashbacks of dead days, drinking 40s of Schlitz. Pork blue paper spliffs, before Bloods and Crips at CMP. Nia telling us raise our consciousness and stop rhyming about nonsense. Gotta say thanks cause that brother was on it. If I could go back, trust that I would be on it. No sweat or regrets though, still made it. Thanks to Allah, our ancestors were patient. Let me do my BS, escaping scars and jail bars. Drunk, putting pedal to the metal and crash no cars. So protected even though I neglected. Higher self all those years, lower self accepted. Finally inspected and lower self ejected like Mayday. Learned many lessons in my heyday. In many sessions, bumping Mob Deep and Smith & Wesson. Around thug life, all you hear about is weapons. From pistols to blades, Rambo or butterfly style. Pigs always shake you down cause of the gutter lifestyle. It was really preparation nowadays for what we facing and defending against corpse nation. Don't be offended when we say we not black. Moors have a status, they can't make us a stat. Might be a ball cap, not a fez we rockin'. Moorish, more aboriginal, Moroccan. Don't be offended when we say we not black. Moors have a status, they can't make us a stat. Might be a ball cap, not a fez we rockin'. Moorish, more aboriginal, Moroccan.
Islam, Islam, Islam. This may be the first trumpet, may as well be the last. If this is the first trumpet for some, it still may as well be the last. Welcome to Moorish Heritage and History School, Eyes Wide Open, National Principles in Action. I am your host, Rosnaraya Bay. I want to make sure that I'm being heard well. So I'm going to open up to our other host, which would be Ms. Raheem Al-As'il. Are you with us?
Yes, peace and much love to everybody. I'm here.
All right. Am I sounding all right?
Yeah, you sound really good.
I'm just checking because, I have all these apparatuses and stuff, electronics, the energy and stuff. I have to make sure my levels are fine. And we have with us as well Cujo Agua Il. Peace and love, brother.
Islam. Peace and love, Moors. Peace and love. Islam.
Peace and love.
The reason I said this may be the first trumpet for some, maybe, but it may as well be the last. And it kind of feels like, all right already. Sometimes that's how we feel when we decide to discuss certain topics, you know, and it's not anything arrogant like, hey, we said that before, didn't you hear it last time? Because we know people keep coming in consistently. But the one good thing is that the archives that we have, you know, for when people listen to them, even if we're not here, when we're not here, you're going to find principled information, which is why this is called Principles of Nationality in Action. So we have to remain consistent. But sometimes you're like, oh, God, we gotta talk about that again, or we have to reiterate that. And sometimes you could add to it. But sometimes we get like, wow. Right, Cujo?
Islam.
Which is, yes. And Ms., I know you're in the same place, but that is really how we're thinking. But, you know, we're going to give what we can and all that we have to give on the topic when it comes to, first we want to set this. We know that people, as soon as you find out about this information, and that reminds me, again, before we get started, made me think about Anna Eve, who is not with us tonight. Everyone knows that she had a fire in her home, and as we have said before, if you want to send her some love, be it a message, be it finances, whatever you want to get, send her way. Of course, she would greatly appreciate it. She needs that strength right now, trust me. And you can send to her the same place it's in Proclamation's care of 141 Western Street, number 1145, Hartford, Connecticut, 06143. All right? So she's not with us tonight. We're trusting she may be with us tomorrow for the last 2 chapters of White Cargo. But if not, you know, that's why we do what we do. We support each other, and we do what we have to do to let things move on in principle. And so send her some love. And I know she's probably listening if she can. She's doing her last, getting her stuff cleared out for her relocation this evening. I'm sure she's just finishing that, but we'll be back with us. I kind of think it'll be next Tuesday, if not tomorrow, but we'll see. But she is definitely with us in the spirit, and we're definitely with her. No diggity, no doubt. Now, it reminded me, because when people first come into this information, this great information, this magnificent heritage and history that has been kind of hidden, but not really, you know, like hidden, and hidden in plain sight, because it definitely is hidden in plain sight. You know, a lot of people and all that, but if you really are about or interested in or get excited in anything that's truly hidden in plain sight, you would definitely find that to be one of the factors when you are discovering your heritage and your, believe me, it's everything that you could think of under the sun is in it. So keep heading towards studying it. But so one of the things is people are going to first go straight to the MSTA. So I'm just going to tell you this. They've been infiltrated a long time ago. So, again, with this topic or this question that we put in the air, and we're going to try to make it short, too, because it's really very short. If we just get to thinking, and the prophet himself said get to thinking, and this is in reference to the fact that people from the MSTA of Eyes representatives in whatever positions, and those who obviously go there to learn, are being told that you can't say you are a Moorish-American unless you are a member of a temple. So, you know, it's interesting because I know that Moorish-Americans' political jurisdiction established that the prophet used for those who are in the temple. But I also know that in his own 101s, that means elementary stuff, that you should all be graduating from already. which would be question number 14. 4 and 1 is 5, harmony. For all of you who do, numerology, all right? Why are we Moorish Americans? Now, this comes right from the work of the prophet. How does MSTA? Why are we Moorish Americans? Because we are descendants of Moroccans and are born in America. Well, gee, does it say that you're Moorish Americans because you're in a temple? I don't know. Somebody answer that for me. I don't think so. Does it say that? So now the only other thing that they could be, that these people that are supposed to be representatives of high positions in the temple, Moorish Society, Temple of America, Incorporated, so that's the distinguishment, is that they are acting, first of all, they're incorporated. Because they didn't understand when the prophet said incorporated in this said government, he did not mean a 501c. He did not do a 501c. That's not what he was talking about at all. At all. He's incorporated. We've said this before. So they've incorporated under 501c's, and they treat it like a brand. You know what I'm talking about? Like a brand. You know how people say, well, this is my company, this is my name, and this is my brand. So they think Moorish-American is a brand that only, the corporation can have. That's the perspective they must be coming from, cloaked with a desire to continue to suffer your birthright as if it can only be attended to you if you are in at the club association or the association of the Moorish-American Temple of America, and then have the nerve to come and incorporate it and still say that, and say that under the incorporation. Now, anything that's incorporated 501c3, that is by all defined, if you do the study, it is a corporation that is a Christian corporation. It's not just a corporation. Listen, people, it's not just a corporation. It's a Christian corporation. Just like name is not just a name, it's not just a tag, it's a Christian tag. Now you're probably saying, well, why am I saying that? Just because we've all grown up under and learned up under, what we thought, something that we thought was that is not, such as government and authority, jurisdiction, et cetera, like that, does not make it right, because upon the study you will see that that is true. Now, in order for you to really understand why it's Christian, even though it's in your face every day, you would have to then go to another study, and I won't even say a level of study, because really it just depends on where you are as to what you can comprehend. It truly depends on the keys you have in order for you to be able to look at something else and figure it out with the puzzle pieces. That depends on you, not me, not Ms., not Cujo, not N.E., not your brother, not sister, but you. And if you're, working together and even in a study group, if you're all going along at the same pace, then you can discover it at the same pace. Otherwise than that, it usually is on a individual basis of your understanding. Your understanding cannot be gained in someone else. It must be with you. And that's why the prophet said, if you are looking for your Savior, look within. Conversely, if you're looking for your devil, look within. All right? And then that goes to the puzzle pieces of higher self and lower self. So everything connects, but you will not be able to connect it if you're not looking at anything, reading anything, studying anything, thinking, period. And if you're not truly serious about your liberties and your birthright or rights of birth. Does that sound better to say birthright or rights of birth, meaning that nobody can give them to you, nobody can take them away. They are there from the time that you are born or birthed out of your mother's womb. All right? And I say that because we went around once and asked people where do their rights come from, and they started talking about in Washington, D.C. and somewhere else, and the government, the state, local government, and then someone's like, I don't know type thing. Well, that's why the principle is about rights of birth or birthright. They can't, and they're unalienable, cannot be leaned upon. Inalienable cannot be made so that they are leaned upon. Do you get it? It's like saying void and voidable, and void ab initio. Like something void is ab initio means it was void from the door. Something is voidable means you have to do something to make it void. You know what I mean? So it's voidable or voided. All right? So same thing. Unalienable, inalienable. No liens. L-I-E-N, root word. Cannot lean upon it. Period. So there's nothing that can be established to lean upon your rights of birth. So I'm going there to just show you how everything connects. You know what? Practice that every living thing is connected to another living thing. Well, the same thing. Everything is connected. So if you're really searching, you would stop and think. And I don't even like saying study because people think it's a dirty word. But it's like studious. How about being studious? I don't know. I don't know what to say other than, So we say this to say that the answer to this problem is a simple one, or to this fake information about you can't be Moorish American. Now, I will say this. When I say the MSTA Eyes are all infiltrated, there may be one or two. I only know of one as I speak, and that is Grand Seek. That is not one that is not a 501, and that is Canaan Land, Eglinton Avenue, Grand Seek, Kuja YYL. Now, when we put that on the site, out on the site, that if you want to be a member, if you really just want to be a member and get in and start studying and finding the information, we suggested for certain that particular temple, Grand Chief Cujo Awal, out of Canaan, which is North America. Now he has classes that are online and different things like that, which you can find out more about. So now, of course, I don't know, I could be wrong, but I think that the attack came even stronger after that against, not just against RBJ, which, whatever is crazy, but against Cujo and the temple, and then the other temple fighting with other temples. Listen, these people have a right to be in the club if that's what they want to be, but you, who are searching for your rights of birth and principles of nationality, you need to wake the heck up, because people wearing turbans and fezzes, now, can put you back into slavery. Now, I didn't say that. I'm saying it now, but it was already warned by Prophet Noble Joy to be careful, those wearing turbans and fezzes. Why is that prominent now? Because this is the time when it is absolutely prominent. Listen, all things are connected. You've got, as I said last week, people denouncing their citizenship, whatever rank that may be, from the U.S.A. in droves, high percentage droves. Minor Europeans as well. And then you've got Grand Chiefs and other representatives, whatever they are, whatever their new, title may be, talking about, come join us and come be a citizen of the U.S.A. Like, what does it take? A rocket scientist mind to figure that out when you were already warned that this is what's going down? You already were warned ahead of time, not by us, but by the prophet himself, who you say you seek to get the information from him. Now, I know all of it is, relatively overwhelming, but just God, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time? However, it's laid out right there. So I say again, when someone tells you that you can't say Moorish Americans unless you're in the temple, and then you go to the temple literature and it says, why are you Moorish American? Because you're descendants of Moroccans. The two don't mix. The two do not mix. Something's away there. Something's a little wrong right up in there. That's kind of obvious. Unless, and this is as far stretched unless, it's really not an unless. It's obviously these people are operating as they are a corporate, as if this is a club, as if your nationality and birthrights are a club, and they're not. and that they have incorporated, which they have, with 501c incorporation under the Christian jurisdiction, and they have branded. You know how we say, the prophet said you've been branded Negro, colored, and black? Well, kind of the same way in a way, but not exactly. They're acting like that term, Moorish American, is something they own. When it says the reason why is because you're descendants of Moroccans, what the heck? It doesn't go. So I like to tell you that I say Moor American, or Moor, because I am totally aware that Moor and American is the same thing. Totally aware. You would be too upon study. But if you're in these institutions that are restricting you from growing and knowing, you may never get to that point. May never get to that point. All right? So, again, I know that Moor and American is the same thing. So it does, you know, it's not like we have to go somewhere and make permission. The prophet just came to teach you. He came and brought some information. He didn't come and then he came and all of a sudden you're a Moor. No, you were a Moor before. That's why he came. Hello. It's that crazy. You were a Moor before. That's why he came. To teach you to be yourself. So, you know, there's really not too much else that can be said about it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll add this on as well. With regard to recognizing the infiltration, right?
Okay.
Specifically, if they're speaking relative to fiction that we call Canaan land as Moors, right? You can ask the Washita about that; they'll tell you.
Mm-hmm.
There's no such thing as Moorish Canadians. Because you'll hear people say that we're a fraud because we don't call ourselves Moorish Canadians because Canada's a country, and if Moors are in Canada, then logically there'll be Moorish Canadians.
Oh,
right. Moors in Canaan land are Moorish-American. Moors in Canaan land are Moorish-American. Because we're descendants of Moroccans born in America as well, even way up here.
But they don't realize that if I can that North America, Canaan land is North America. They don't get that lesson.
But again, it goes back again to the disunity mindset. This is the same infiltration. The whole purpose of infiltrating was to cause confusion, which is disunity. The whole point was to have everybody running in different directions, thinking that they're running in the right direction. When Noble Jawali said, one prophet, one temple.
One direction.
So if you can't figure out which temple that you're in, you're going in some other direction, then, you know. Right? And also, too, when people go to the website and they call Canaan land and they speak to Grand Sheikh Kudro Adwa'el, first thing Kudro Adwa'el is going to do is tell them, check the temple where you're at. Don't join us just because we're cool. You check the temple where you're at yet? No, I never went there. Okay, yeah, go check there. And everybody comes back because they say they checked there and there's church going on there, and that's not what they came into this for.
Reverse church, I call it. Yeah.
Right?
No.
They never came into this to go sit down in pews and talk about somebody, you know, relating to them or interpreting for them what the Quran says.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do I need somebody to do that? I might as well go to church.
Mm-hmm.
No law books or whatever like that. No, nothing to do with higher knowledge. just like you're saying, keeping people in a little box. They do the same thing with the same way they do with Moorish American. They do the same thing with Moorish Science. Like Moorish Science belongs to Moorish Science Temple. Like, I'm Moorish Science Temple, and trust me, Moorish Science doesn't belong to Moorish Science Temple only.
Right.
Because we speak to people outside of Moorish Science Temple, and they know about Moorish Science.
Mm-hmm. But can you also
by using those words, not something different or interpreted different by them. Like, if we say Moorish Science, the outsiders, they know what we're talking about. They know where we're coming from. They know exactly how we should engage each other. No religion comes in, no BS. Mano a mano.
Mm-hmm.
No confusing, you know what I mean, things to lead you in a direction where you're not supposed to be going, which is toward unity, especially of the Asiatic nations.
Yeah. Could you just say why is
well, go ahead.
Why is it then that I really already know the answer to this question, I think, that they are doing what we will distinguish as reverse church? Why is that? Is there confusion about the fact that a religious affidavit was added onto and incorporated in? And when we say incorporated, when I talk 501c, into the works of the prophet, civic work, is that an indication that is that also an indication of the restriction to keep people in?
It's really a indication of violation of the prophet, because he said all Moors are active.
Okay, all right, got you. Okay.
So if people are passive, clearly they're not with Noble Drew Ali, because he said all Moors are active. So if you're not active Moor, for people who, is their term, we made it up or whatever like that, oh no, that's Drew Ali stuff. That's not our little personal clique. Oh yeah, we say active Moors, so we mean, no, Noble Drew Ali said all Moors are active, which would make you active Moors. Right, so but people want to be Drew Ali Moors instead of active Moors. And they want to be Ali's men Moors instead of active Moors. And they want us to be Supreme Grand Sheikh Moors instead of active Moors. Then the low-level ones, they want to be, sit down in the pew Moors instead of active Moors. And then all those people looking at active Moors like we're some renegade. You know what I mean? Oh, my gosh, we're violating whatever like that, when, what do you mean? We're just being Moors. We're just being ourselves. People,
it sounds like to me that. Oh, go ahead.
No, like when like they always equate active with some type of go against somebody with your scimitar, and their gun's bigger than yours, so you're not gonna win if you be active. But that's not activity. You know what I mean? And again, this is the same. This is the same European psychology, fear tactics, that Europeans use. These are Moors using it on Moors to get them to not be active, to get them to be passive, sit down in the pew, Negroes. But they're Moors. They got fezzes and turbans and all that stuff. Well, you ask any one of them, hey, you ever wrote a writ before? They ask you, what's that?
Passive.
And I know, because I ask them, because I'm a Grand Sheik, so people call me. They'll talk to me or whatever, but they're not getting down with what we're saying, not because they don't want to get down, but because they're a member of this club that said, yo, if you want to be part of this club, you don't go to that website over there. You don't bring up those people around us.
Cujo, I was just going to say, that was on my mind, and now it's like they've added a new set of Moors or a new thing to their ridiculousness called RV Bay Moors. RV Bay Publications is a publication company operating under the First Amendment rights, and they now say RV Bay Moors. Like, that should be enough to let people know. I was up with that.
Yeah, and again, it comes, regardless of what, I still rather be a RV Bay Moor than what these people say Temple Moors are.
Right.
I'll be a RV Bay Moor before I'm a Moor Science Temple sit down in the pew Negro Moor. Because at least I know if I'm a RV Bay Moor that I'm studying. I'm getting some information. I'm enlightening myself. You know what I mean? I can feel the change happening around me. I can see the change happening around me because I'm in harmony with truth. And, you know, there's no falsehood mixed in that. There's no illusion. There's just what it is. That's why we keep laughing when these people say, yeah, Taj calling on you guys stupid stuff. What do you guys think you are? Why RV Bay calling and say something? Who's calling in on you guys jackass stuff? People are on the high road. They have no time for your BS. And especially people riding with it. That they should know better. That there's only one way this is going to go. There's not all different ways that this could go to get to the... That's why Joe Ali said, those who were with me yesterday are with me today. Those who were against me yesterday are against me today. What's he talking about? Back then, 1920s or whatever? Oh, he's talking about right now. Prophecy, fulfilling.
Yeah.
That there's a path. You know what I mean? Footprints in the sand. You talking about getting the boat and you're going over there because some Moors said that there's something down there for Moors? when the footprints are in the sand, okay, so you know what sand is, but you're in boats going over, you're in a plane to go to some other planet to go see what Noble Drew Ali left on some planet, the Moors said. Tripping.
Wow. So there's also what he's mentioning about, well, we're going to get into that, it's territorial jurisdiction when we're talking about Canaan being North America. But like you said, they're not studying anything there. And so they're just creating, no matter what comes up, active Moors, they're going to make a division on it. And that's why I was bringing that up when they made up this new thing talking about RV Bay Moors. And then they got people who actually think that, you know, we take membership, that, you know, you are that. I mean, you can probably say that in terms of their studies, like you said, you know, like, hey, if I'm getting the information, you know, from what's offered and shared on RV Bay, at least I'm studying, or at least I'm being pointed in the direction of studying, because nobody can make anybody study and put the pieces together. You have to do that yourself. So,
yeah.
You know,
and these people saying that they have the state of little children to the point that, you know, they don't even know basic geography, you know, as far as saying Canaan land, you know, Moorish Canadians and all of that crap. It's really sad, you know what I'm saying? And it reminds me, because you got clowns who come on YouTube and, you know, hollering and screaming doesn't make you right. We saw that example with Sarah Suit and Seti, you know what I'm saying? All that hollering and, you know what I'm saying, trying to be loud, it does not make you correct. And we're going to get that out the way. So, you know, when I see that, You know, people yelling at the digital realm TV screen as if they're right. It's just an air of arrogance in their ignorance. You know what I'm saying? And to the point that it would even be a question or a conversation that if you're not in the Moorish Science Temple of America, you can't be a Moorish American. It's totally, I mean, like that right there, that is the evidence of making it more of a club opposed to an establishment for a nation, right? Because like I pointed out before, you know, in the treaties, you see the language of Moors and Christians. You will never hear, you know, some pale-skinned nations of Europe saying, well, you didn't go to church the last 3 weeks, so you're not a Christian. Or you never been to, you know, our church, so you're not a Christian. You know what I'm saying? The institutions do not identify the people. They might be a ramification of a nation's establishments, but they themselves, the institution, like, you know what I'm saying, does not identify or qualify, you know, the person, the being's nationality. That is an illusion. So, you know, when I hear things like that, it's like, man, I just hope the people themselves are wise enough to not fall for comments like that. You know what I'm saying? And if they're not, what can you say? I mean, you know, the work, the information has been out. You know, my whole thing is what allowed me to actually comprehend even more was reading the prophets, read the prophets' work, and then see if it add up to what these people say. And you don't have to just stop there because, again, you know, Noble Jali, he said it himself, I'm a universal prophet, and his philosophy will be first, not local, not city philosophy, not, you know what I'm saying, this state, be a citizen of the state philosophy. Like this man said, my philosophy will be universal. You know how broad that term is? That means you talking not just the earth, but also astrology is enveloped in that. You know what I mean? Cosmology, all of these part of a universal philosophy because we exist within the universe. That's a fact. And we here on planet Earth, and, you know, the oldest people are, and they came out with the report this year, they said that the quote-unquote oldest bones was found in quote-unquote Morocco. So if we descendants of the oldest people, right, and it changes because, you know, natural history, you know, it exposes so much as time goes on. But nonetheless, we know this one thing, that all the lands were connected at a point. So, you know what I mean? If you want to pinpoint the specific location, that doesn't mean that we didn't spread out or wasn't already everywhere, however you want to see that. But, yeah, for them to even take that attitude it's childish, it's ignorant, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm saying it like this, okay? Yeah, the temples are supposed to have schools, right? But you know, everybody do what's in their means. So you also supposed to be learning in the temple. But my thing is, you know, nobody stays in you know, K through 12 beyond their just due time. Like you're not gonna be 21 still in the 12th grade. You know what I mean? That's sickening. So my thing is, you can't be mad when Moors do what Prophet Noble Jali said and go out on the hedges and the highways and go out on his word and things of that nature and become what? Productive members of society. You know what I mean? Well, that's really what it is, to uplift fallen humanity, not to make everybody in the temple feel good every Sunday. And I'm not knocking those have unwavering faith to communionship or fellowship or whatnot. But what I'm saying is that you know, it comes a point where you're supposed to move beyond that. You know what I mean? If you're telling me you've been in the temple 20 years, you know, and you mad because y'all didn't build the building within 20 years. Don't try to put that on nobody else, because Moor stepped out of the temple. Why? Because they wasn't getting busy in the first place. That's why Moor stepped out on the hedges and the highways, the word to the people. So now, you know, you just see a whole host of jealousy. It's the same thing that Prophet Noble Drew Ali was talking about when he said, you know, they're jealous because of his fame and nobility. You know what I mean? You see these same mentalities, but the whole thing is that these people are posers, because they'll put on the Moorish regalia, you know, and have the Moorish flag and the RBG banner, and it's like everything you're saying doesn't rep Marcus Garvey or Noble Drew Ali. It's not true, because we got the text, you know, and anybody talking like you got to be subjected to the European to have salvation is not really about your liberation. And I'm not saying that everybody should have the attitude of let's, you know, quote unquote, you know, kill people and things like that. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that, you know, you gotta be able to understand that when you're talking about nationality, that international law is also a part of that conversation. Why? Because there is people with other nationalities that you, being a national, are expected to have certain national principles that you can put into action interfacing with any particular nationality. When you come in contact with someone from another nation, there's just certain national principles that, you know, you're going to be spotted on or not. So, you know, again, like I said, that's not to be hateful, but it's also not to be naive, because I'm looking at the lessons. You know, if they was really breaking down Noble Drew Ali lessons, they wouldn't be shunning, or trying to make a distinguishment. Oh, those are sovereign Moors and all of this. Like, again, I can't make it any more clear. We are not sovereign citizens, but for them to try to disassociate with quote unquote sovereignty shows you that they're not dealing with national powers, or I don't even want to say powers, national principles, or even what Noble Drew Ali was teaching, because he, again, I can't emphasize it enough. You know, when you're talking magistrate and subject, chapter 29, that's law. Like, that is a law. That's law. Magistrate and subject. It doesn't get any clearer than that. All right? So you're talking about two.
Say that again. Say that again.
The magistrate and law does not get any clearer than that. If they saying he didn't talk law, tell me what is a magistrate and a subject. You know what I'm saying? And then how did sovereignty come into that chapter? What was it there for? Somebody had to be on law, you know what I mean? So for them to dismiss that and act like, oh, no, Noble Drew Ali just said, you know, praise him and substitute his name with Jesus' name in different songs, you know, you can see that that's the infiltration. That is the watered-down version. You did the class on the whole BIE thing, and you was going back into the FBI files that went back to the 20s. This is nothing new. This is nothing new. But now, you know, the jesters, the Negroid jesters posing as Moors, have access to media, like you said before, yellow journalism. That's what they're putting out, and totally disrespecting not just the nation, the Moors period, but also Noble Drew Ali, but claim to be repping Noble Drew Ali. This is what I don't get. And then if we're going to talk about the lessons themselves, it's like, what type of mind state are you in when you see or even absorb the lesson where he's talking about man is the Lord of the plane of everything made manifest? Like, and then he's telling you that man is mine. So he's telling you it's your thoughts at the same time. You know what I mean? So as a man thinketh, so is he. So if he thinks that, you know, the European is the authority, and we're not saying that they don't assert themselves as far as color of law. We know that that's what they do. But to actually, you know, internalize that the European is some type of official authority, you know, specifically when you're talking about nationality, because we broke it down already, you know, the laws of nations is to regulate differences between them. But you can't without a nationality. They had a whole system of subject laws, if you will, or subject rules with the black codes, which were slave codes, if you will. And you will fall up under that modern day in the updated version if you're not aware and awake and alert about who is who and what is what, for real. So, you know what I mean? Don't let anybody tell you that Noble Drew Ali didn't teach about law. You know what I mean? Just take them to chapter 29 and tell them to explain to you what is a magistrate and what is the subject. If he's not talking law, what is he talking about? If that's the case, I saw him mentioned in this chapter. Like, the fact that it's even mentioned, you know what I mean? And not in a derogatory way. He's not like, oh, the sovereigns are radicals. And, you know, he's talking about a process. You feel me? So, again, that's law. All I can say is, you know, they're not fooling us. I just hope the people are not taking that bait opposed to it, which is why we even made the information available, so that you wouldn't have to get trapped up in those types of false conceptions about you can't be a Moor, because this is not, it's not a club. It's not like, you know what I'm saying? You have a certain type of I'll say membership. It's not like a job. Like, if you're not, you know, you don't put your name tag on in a certain uniform to clock in, you can't be a worker. Like, nationality is not that. Nationality is bloodline, no matter what you have on, no matter any of that. So, you know, it's not something you can quit tomorrow. Like, I don't want to be a Moor no more. That's like saying, oh, I don't want to be yourself, or I don't want to be myself anymore. Then what are you doing? What's wrong? That's on the lines of mental insanity. So, like, you know, if you think about it in retrospect, if somebody came to you and said, yo, I don't want to be myself no more, if you had any, you know, intellect, you'd be like, yo, this person is going through some mental things. They might need some counseling or some help. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing when they say that about Moors, like, oh, this don't work, I don't want to do it, and you can't be this, and, you know, it's just corny. You know what I'm saying? It's just corny. But, again, it goes to show the incompetence level. Like, people really got played in school. They really did, because it's no way we should be 2017 and you got adults who are almost 50 and don't know that Canada is North America. Like, that's a op, for real. That's definitely a op. So, if the people can't see that, I don't know what else to say, fam. I really don't. Except for I just pray, I hope, you know yourself. That's how Noble Drew Ali began to uplift Moorish Americans, you know what I'm saying, by teaching them to be themselves, not teaching them to be members or slaves of any institution or subjects of anybody. You know what I mean? So he gave you the polarity and the balance. And, you know, it's universal. It's not local. It's not state. It's not government. I mean, it's not county. You know, it's even beyond, really, it's even beyond continental, you know, but it impacts us so much on this continent, on you know, in North, South, and Central America, really, because we are home here, and that's what it is. That's why, again, you know, when they talk about, oh, well, Noble Drew Ali was trying to bring political power to Detroit and Chicago, and not to say that wasn't the effect by default, But understand, they was already politically charged once they declared or even knew about their nationality, because nationality itself, not any, merging into to local politics, like nationality itself determines the political status. This is why even like so-called mayors, they know that. And that's why they'll put out the publication like, look, y'all are sovereign, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying or vouching for sovereign citizenship. Please do not confuse what I'm saying. The fact that they said that, you know what I mean? That's what they said. And they didn't say sovereign citizens. They was like, look, they in a whole nother jurisdiction. They aboriginal indigenous to North, South, and Central America. Okay? That's multiple quote unquote mayors. And we're talking 2017. So, you know what I mean? From 2011 to 2017, Gregorian calendar time block. So I'm like, if you still don't get it, I really don't know what to tell you. I just don't. I don't. Go back, study some more, listen to the archives, but more importantly, check out the references that we're giving and just the logic. You know what I'm saying? You'll be able to know where you shouldn't be able to decipher the real from the false. But then again, Noble Dry Lee was talking about truth and falsehood strangely mixed. So, yeah, it's the truth that our flag is the red flag with the green 5-pointed star. It's the truth that the Fezzes are our national headdress, right? The falsehood comes in when somebody puts that cloak on or puts those garments on and don't have the sincere intentions of delivering the message of what Noble Dry Lee was really about. So the falsehood and the truth being strangely mixed is basically appearance, because you can't take somebody's credibility based off of what they have on. If that was the case, we could just assume that quote unquote all cops are good, and you know that's not the case because they got on a blue suit. That's not the case. You feel me? So start seeing into the substance of things. Forget the surface level. You know what I mean? It's important. Don't get me wrong. These things are important. The flag, the fez, the turban, all of these things are important. But do not get that confused with somebody has that on so they're legit. I refuse to, don't even do that. Because you will get sold out like Prophet Noble told you. There will be some those garments on, trying to put you back into slavery. This is a prophecy fulfilled. That's what you said. That's what you're saying.
And that was in the syllabus too. It said, be careful, because that's not a quote from us. That's from him. He said, be careful, Moor, some wearing turbans and fezzes will put you back into slavery. So you're right. That's not the true indication. But let me say this, and again, we closed out this, or we answered this question about, you can't say Moorish American, or you're not a Moorish American unless you're in the temple. With question number 14 in the 101, elementary 101 itself, which tells you that you're Moor because you're descendants of Moroccans, right? So, or Moorish American because you're descendants of the Moroccans. So that right there squashes that. And that's a part of what the prophet was saying when he says, if I could just get you to thinking you for yourself. So you're right. And going back into what he says. Now, but now let me say this. So this leads us to caveat emptor, which was also written, caveat emptor, that means beware, or like you'll say, buyer beware, caveat emptor. What he's saying, not buyer, but in terms of this body of information regarding your birthright, caveat emptor, and I'm not going to read this whole thing. You need to read it yourself. It's in the Moorish literature, and the Moorish literature, or the Moorish guide, some people call it, because that was the things that were published before, already made public in a newspaper, right? So that's not hidden or not something that you can only get, if you're in the temple type thing, because the newspaper was like any other newspaper, spread out not just for those who were in the temple, but as news. So in it, with caveat emptor, as it goes in respect to these falsehoods that are being told to you, we're saying that, it's from people wanting to keep you from being in the same direction and from expanding or studying to find out about your illustrious history. Instead, they want you to be, into like a club setting or cheap warmers, as we call it. So caveat emptor, it starts out, it just says, Moors are men upright, independent, and fearless who care for their loved ones and follow the prophet to a destiny which is not uncertain, nor is it unknown. They are fortified by the impregnable doctrine built upon love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. It is therefore folly at its greatest height for smelly culprits with their insidious plans to invade such realms. Now let me just stop right there, because when you have closed minds, such as you do in an infiltrated association, because I will say, and as you kind of touched on it, it's the cause that creates the institution. It is not the institution that creates the cause. It is the cause that creates the institution. So now, right here it says, it is therefore folly at its greatest height for smelly culprits with their insidious plans to invade such a realm. Now, you go into some of these infiltrated, limited temples from their perspective, see, because the problem is how you perceive the problem. So from their perspective, they're probably thinking that anybody outside of the temple is a smelly culprit that is invading their realm. So you see, when you think about it from that perspective, that's what they're standing on. They're like, oh no, this is our institution here, and you can't, you got to be a Moorish American in order to be a Moor, which is, we just showed you that's ridiculous. But from their perspective and their clubism, that's how they see it. That if you are being active, right, that you are then invading their realm of what it is that they are laying down. But we are telling you to look at this from a perspective of being or finding out this information about your nationality and birthright that the prophet set up to teach people that. Now, some people just have become retarded. When I say retarded, I don't mean anything about what they call retarded people. I mean delayed, hindered, just stopped in their tracks, which is what you find in most of these institutions. So he's saying that, let's see, there's a part where it says that they try, but their own bad planning brings down wrath upon their heads like the sword old Damascus had. Intrigue and scurrilous cunnings find a difficult path to travel within the ranks of Moors. Now, within the ranks of Moors, that means those who are upright, independent, and fearless and care for their loved ones, right? I'm sorry, were you going to say something?
Yeah, I didn't want to cut the wisdom, but I did want to emphasize the fact that when you began reading, you quoted that Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that Moors, right? So he's talking about a nation of people are men up, independent and fearless. He's not talking about, an individual who's on some, I don't need nobody, I got me, myself, and I type of thing, because he's talking about a collective people who are independent. He's talking about a nation.
Exactly. Thanks for bringing that out. Thanks for bringing that up. Yes.
And look, those who want to play the word game, he didn't say Moorish-Americans. That's not excluding, you feel me? Because Moors, everybody falls under that if you're Moor. You know what I mean? But he said Moors. So don't let them play that distinct game on you. You feel me? And I'm not saying that Moorish-Americans aren't Moors. I'm saying that for them saying Moors, Moorish-Americans is retarded in every sense of the word. It really is. And to point that out. Like,
And so that takes us to paragraph 3 here.
One sec.
Oh, go ahead.
Sec, before you continue, one more thing. He also said realm.
Yeah. He didn't say city hall.
Right? Now, when you check realm and you go to the Latin, regimen is system of government.
Mm-hmm.
So when he's talking about them invading the realm, he's talking about them invading your government.
Take that.
Infiltrating your government. Forget organization. Forget they infiltrated Moorish Science Temple of America Religious Corporation. They infiltrated your government and suppressed your government. And you're not mad? You're not revolting? You find me some nation out here. Find me some nation out here that their realm got invaded and they just sat there like some chumps. And then willingly go with the fraud that's in the seat of power in their government.
Right. Great point. Now, that's a great point you put out. Right. Because they say, oh, no, the prophet wasn't talking about, civics or government nationality. That's civics. He wasn't talking about that. But see, it's just so many ways where you see that they don't know what you're talking about. But that brought that out as well. And that was a good point. But only through study would you do that. So, paragraph 3, Prophet Noble Drawley knows the people within his ranks who are interested. They are the vanguards of the movement. Did he say the vanguards of the MSTA Temple? No. As vanguards of the movement, as the Moorish hordes increase here in America. And that's exactly what's happening. We can definitely know that to be a fact. All right? All of the Moors are active, not passive. A member's interest can only, yeah, you said that earlier, be in one direction. Now, if they're active, not passive, their interest must be in one direction, right? There it is. So now here's the thing. You've got so many different directions. So guess what, people? It's left up to you to figure this out on your own for yourself. And if you're going to be the only one, be the only one. He already knew where you were going. I believe he said he knows within the ranks who's interested. Because if you're truly interested, then you're going to accept the fact that I may be the only one, but I'm going to be the only one. You're going to be, looking for that direction. But now here again, what is the direction that these people that are in the MSTA of Eyes infiltrated? As far as from their standpoint, they have a direction. This is why, again, it is up to you, people, to figure this out. All right? Because you can become very complacent and not realize that you're being played. Wow. So, with that being said, a few feet below is another road. And you need to know what road you're on. You know what? At this point, it's really, unfortunately or fortunately, I guess it depends on how you look at it. You need to know what road you're on, for real, because there is a few feet below. There is another road where schemes work, where traders grin and culprits bask in the sun. They think they're on the same road with true Moors. But the Moors are high above on a pinnacle where they might view the destructionists as they fall for their last time, and their bones sleep in the sultry midday sun. And then hungry scavengers that are flying high will catch their scent, devour, and leave crying out, caveat enter, cast out the dead carcass. The Moors high above, they see these plotters, these purveyors, the worst that exists, hurl themselves downward by their own works as the hawks wait. Now, You're in maybe the people who are in the MSTA of Eyes, as far as they're concerned, they're sitting in a place where they're just everything's just fine, and everybody else are the plotters and the purveyors. The plotters and the purveyors against, whatever their direction is. So again, I say, you, the people, are going to have to, at minimum, really look into and have interest in figuring out the facts that are mixed with falsehood. You're going to have to do that on your own because it's already been laid out here to beware of these things. So follow, how do you do that, you may say? I can give you the answer because I know that you know this. It's within your soul. And so the prophet gave it to you too. He said, follow the dictates of your soul. Period. So you're going to have to elevate yourself to that place and trust, the dictates of your own soul.
Indeed. I just wanted to too.
Go ahead. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
No, I just want to say, mention road. And another thing he was mentioning about being on different roads, and certain Moors watching from the pinnacle to watch them fall for the last time. And when you said that about being on the same road, of course, I thought about the right to travel, and I just wanted to say this for the record. I mean, smashed that situation many of times, but enumeration 442 out of the Institutes of American Law, the book Institutes of American Law, the Book of Things, enumeration 442, it says a road or highway is a passage through the country or some parts of it for the use of the people. Roads are public or private. 443, public roads are of two kinds. First, such as are laid out by the quote-unquote government itself and kept in repair out of the public treasury of the nation. Now, keep in mind, United States is not a nationality. Keep in mind that states are not nations. Quasi-national domiciles are not national. They're quasi-national. So state, a county, or other district, and second, those which are made and laid out by authority of law, right? Now, mind you, all political power is in the people, all right? But by a corporation or company of individuals in which are kept in repair by them. The public have the use of roads of the first class, but the owners of land over which they pass have a fee in such roads. So my thing is, when we talk about the right to travel, it is saying here, the public have the use of roads of the first class, but the owners of land over which they pass have a fee in such road. It just makes me question, or at least think, how did people even adopt the idea that pilgrims, lineal descendants of foreigners on this land, own the land? How did they come to that conclusion? So again, this still correlates with the right to travel, because you'll see, when you're passing through your ancestral estate, I'm speaking to Moors, that they have tolls as if they own the land. They don't really have the right to charge you a fee. Now, I'm not saying, please don't take what I'm saying out of context, and next time you go through the toll, you're trying to argue with the toll attendant. Do not do that. Yes. Yeah. Let's take it there. There's other ways to go about that. But what I'm saying is that, in all reality, those institutions that are pilgrim designed by nature, you know what I mean, have no real authority to do that except for what the people assume and give to them. So all of this is in correlation with the right to travel. Okay, so it says the public have the use of roads of the first class, but the owners of land over which they pass have a fee in such road, subject to the easement of the public, and the owners of the sides have prima facie a fee in it to the century to the center of the road. And then there's a maxim there, but it's written in Latin. But it says, subject, of course, to the public right, meaning that the public, the people, still have conditions on what they're doing, certain things that they own, or assuming that they're owners of land. All of this is still subject, of course, to the public right. But where the boundary excludes the highway, it is, of course, excluded. The proprietor of the soil of such roads is therefore entitled to all the fruits which grow by its side and to all the mineral wealth they contain. Again, look up mineral rights and things of that nature. But I wanted to put that on the record, and I felt inspired to read that when you mentioned about Moors being on a certain road, because we already know, in correlation to what the Prophet was saying, because there's Moors who, act as if you're out of place to be like, oh, I have a right to travel, or, a right to free locomotion, etc., by any mode of conveyance. So, the argument runs deeper than just that. And, of course, they won't get that concept if they're not studying law, if they don't know who they are, because they still are under the impression that the UDASDA has jurisdiction over them. That's what they think. That's really what they think, not understanding the message that Prophet Noble Drew Ali really brought, and don't say he was about the other stuff, because he was born in the 1880s, right? And his whole thing was to get people back to the constitutional fold of government. Why? Because it wasn't going on. Why? Because if you study what happened in the 1860s, the carpetbag and scalawag regime took over heavy. That is the de facto government that you see today, call themselves Democrats and Republicans. Because there's no way that a Republican form of government would entertain anything as far as a democracy when the Constitution clearly states there's only, that form of government for each state or whatnot. So, when you really look at it and you do the historical timeline, what Noble Drew Ali was saying added up in so many different ways. Because, it is what it is, but there's just so much that goes with it, shall I say. Because now you got to study history, which is pointing you to, because law and history go together. If it didn't, he wouldn't have pointed that out in the divine warning when he was talking about, the Constitution, the 14th Amendment, shall I say, brought the North and South in unit. And I was saying a couple weeks ago from the Fort Monroe thing, I was like, I think I'm on to something. I think that the 14th Amendment was the peace treaty for the Union and Confederate. But, it was common sense, but the Prophet already said it. You feel me? He said it in the divine warning. I'm like, oh, that's all I needed to do was go back and study what Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, because he said that the 14th Amendment brought the North and the South in union, bringing the Southerners who were at that time without the political body of power, right? But then he also qualified and was like, but look, since the Constitution was enforced since the 1700s, all right, there really isn't a need for the 14th and 15th Amendment, because the Constitution never changed, all right, and it already guaranteed a Republican form of government and all of these things. So, there was infiltration prior to what you see right now, that Noble Drew Ali was combating. That was a part of his mission as well. So, when anybody just be like, oh, yeah, Noble Drew Ali said be passive and don't have any questions on the government thing and none of that, you already know that they're really not about the message, because if you go ahead and study that timeline, study the origins of the 14th Amendment, what does it say? If it doesn't apply, are you really a United States citizen? Are you really a citizen of the state wherein you reside? Okay? Are you really naturalized under U.S. jurisdiction? And why are you doing that, those who are in the Moor Science Temple of America, if he already told you it wasn't no need for that? So, it's just so much to point out because he was 19, in the teens and the 20s. So that would be likened to the fact today we like, yo, look what the counterintelligence program did in the 60s and 70s. It's likened to the time frame Noble Drew Ali was talking about, recent politics of his time, but also foreseeing into the future, telling you what you need to do. So he moved the three worlds, or spoke on all three of them, past, present, and future. And, that was to wake you up, to be alert, intelligent, not a vegetable going day to day, doing nothing, So with that, I yield the floor.
Mm-hmm. Islam. Thank you. Wow. I'm going to open up to callers. And I think we have a few online. But before I do, I just want to know, I think Sister Annie let me know the other day that, we've been talking about traveling and driver's licenses, and everyone knows that by the end of Gregorian calendar 2017, which is in the next month or so, that the states had to come up with a identification card. Now, we all know they're quasi-national, so they can never, ever come up with a national ID. What they have made them do, and some of you may have found this out, is put on the driver's license instrument that it is a non-federal identification. And, I'm like jumping for joy. Like, we have been telling people that this driver's license instrument is not an ID. It's not. It's been commonly used in the absence of a national identification card, which we, brought out a few classes back, or a few broadcasts back. So now, with it coming to the end of where they're forcing them to actually create an identification, which really your nationality needs to be on there. I mean, that's part of what an identification is. So they were like, all right, this driver's license instrument is not an ID, so therefore put on there that it isn't. And so, literally on the driver's license instrument, what I find interesting is that some of our people still going to go over their head, and they're going to be, trying to prop this thing up. It's really interesting. It's really kind of an interesting mental slavery we're in. Also, last week, and I don't know if Brother Anthony Single's going to be on the line tonight, but he had mentioned about a passport that says for American national, American. But we haven't finished. Look, he even emailed me today. He hasn't finished studying all of it, looking at it, and I have some of it in front of me. And the first thing I noticed is that, they're saying that this is a certificate of non-citizen nationality. And so I'm looking at it, all right, it says, as defined by the INA, all U.S. citizens. So, first of all, they're dealing with U.S. citizens, which Moors cannot be and are not. So, it's saying the Department of State occasionally receive requests for certificates of non-citizen national status pursuant to Section 341B of the Immigration and Nationality Act. Right there. Then it says, as the title of the certificate indicates, only a person who is a non-citizen U.S. national, i.e., a U.S. national but not a U.S. citizen, may apply for such a certificate. Now, I was going through this a bit, and I remember having a conversation with our dear sister Anna Eden, because, people get confused. They think that U.S. first, there's no such thing as a U.S. citizen other than the fact that it is a corporation. So when they say U.S. national, they're just talking about a corporation that is considered national, as opposed to the local citizenship that you might be listed under. So none of it is still talking about you, or about us, or natural flesh and blood beings, period. So I'm looking at this and I'm realizing that this is stuff that they are putting out under their terms, under their jurisdiction. And then, of course, in this, they have to, I just saw it, they have to explain what a U.S. citizen is, and then they start talking about Samoa. Where is it? Samoa, Mariana Islands. Look at this. It's the Commonwealth of North and Mariana Islands who became United States citizens by the virtue of Article 3 of their covenant to opt for a non-citizen national status. All right, all of this is talking corporations, talking commerce. It has nothing to do with people, even natural flesh and blood people, even though we think it does. But clearly, if it says U.S. anything in terms of citizenship, not true either. So, not knowing that much, we look at the word national, because I've seen like they have a nationality card that someone put a barcode on, which is really ridiculous. And on the back of it, because they had it on YouTube, like, it's a big deal, it said U.S. national. And, I realized that people don't know what that really means. So, and then the application I just got sent that I haven't really looked at it very well yet. But even as that, you have to have proof of U.S. citizenship. So, can't be for us at all. And so I thought it kind of interesting that, they have at least come to a portion of this, of making the states come up with an identification card, and at least they've gotten so far that I know of to the point where, well, I'll tell you what we will do for certain is you better put on that driver's license instrument that it is not an identification card. We've been telling people that for the longest time. Then we'll have some people, and it's sad because they're in the MSTA. They're not dealing with law. They're not dealing with civics, because especially if they're a 501c3, they can't talk that way. And then they'll talk about the laws and think that the driver's license instrument and the rules behind that is law. So that just goes to show you just how much they don't know. Islam. So what I'm going to do now is open up the line. Let's see if anybody has any questions or comments. And we will go with 416-301. You're live on the air. Oh, that's Cujo. Cujo, that's you, right? Hold on, Cujo.
Yeah. 416 is cool.
Yes, it is. I don't know how to get on down there. I know. I just unmuted you.
Yeah,
you did drop. All right. That's how.
Yeah,
all right. So you back on. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So did you have anything you wanted to add before we go into the callers?
Oh, just to remember that Noble Drew Ali said that some of my best Moors are in the church. Don't think he was talking about Christian church or whatever.
Well, hey, so he wasn't, was he? Was he talking from a perspective well, he was just saying that's where they are, right?
The only place where good Moors will be, the Moorish Science Temple of America. Because remember, he's prophet. So he's not talking about his time when he said certain things.
True.
And if we look around today, in Moorish Science Temple, who have the heads and the leaders that are talking against civics and against law and all that, you'll find out that a lot of those Moors under them are studying from rvbaypublications.com and all that. But, they're just petrified to leave.
Wow. How do they become petrified to leave?
Yeah, because of how the leadership presents. Yeah, because how the leadership presents what this is to them. That they're only going to get their salvation through this building. So it locks them in.
That's
just
imprisonment,
like
really.
Yeah. Mental imprisonment.
Okay.
So Islam to the Moors who are usually on the highways and byways and bump into Moors from Moorish Science Temple of America that are talking, religiousized, dogmatized, whatever, and puts them onto some knowledge, and have these people who are in Moorish Science Temple right now getting played by their leadership actually stop it and saying, yeah, how come they're not teaching us that? And going back to the temple and starting to question these people on things that they're studying for themselves and they're learning outside. So Islam to those active Moors.
Yes, and what happens to them when they do that? Now that creates a whole different adversity that doesn't need to even be, because now they're into fighting over or debating over when those who do, as you said, come out and study and realize some things, and then they may even innocently, that's the bad part, innocently go, because I know people who say, I'm going in the temple and I'm going to change them. I'm going to correct the temple. Yeah. I'm like, really? They're not. That's not what the prophet left. They're working under 501c, incorporated, and infiltration, and you're going to go and change that. You want to do the prophet's work, then do the prophet's work, but don't try to go change something that's not really his work. You know what I mean? So what happens when they go in and they say, yo, why aren't, because it could be innocent, like you're saying, and they find it out and they go back and they innocently ask, well, why aren't you teaching this? What happens then?
Sometimes they get kicked out. I've heard of Moors getting kicked out because they started bringing up certain stuff, and it has the grand sheiks and whoever looking like incompetent fools up there.
Yeah,
and
kicked out.
They got their ego. You know what I mean? Their grand sheik ego and all that. So they're not going to let anybody punk them off in their temple and all that type of stuff. So people have gotten kicked out and all that. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Got their card taken.
Oh, that reminds me.
Got their card taken. So now they're not a Moor because their card got taken.
Yeah. And then wow. So that reminds me of this, then, what you're just saying with the ego and everything. But if you go back to what Ms. mentioned earlier, chapter 29, magistrate and subject, it says, first of all, it says in the first one, because this supports what Ms. is saying, O thou. Now we're talking about the worship here. You are the favorite of heaven, whom the sons of men, who are your equals, that means everybody in the temple is your equals, the sons of men are your equals, they have agreed to raise you to sovereign power. That shows an election right there, by the way, and set as a ruler over themselves, consider the end and importance of their trust, that means of the people's trust, far more, consider that far more than the dignity or the ego and the height of thy station. That means ego. So right there in the first stanza here, they're violating that because you're saying that their ego won't allow them, to come down off of their high horse and suffer humility, which is one of the greatest things to suffer or to experience, I'll say. In that, hey, I'm wrong and I need to get up on my game here and I need to do some more studying. It's very difficult to say that. And this is what I think you're saying to someone who's been in a position where they are what? Clothed in purple, and seated on the throne. All right, because that's what it says in stanza 2. And the crown of majesty is invested in that temple, right? It's hard for them to admit that they need to humble themselves and make change.
Yep.
Yeah.
What to make change. So that's part of what happens when you do go out and learn, which means that, it should be clear to you, that the best interest of this movement and this information, not what you're going to find in infiltrated institutions. And remember, the cause creates the institution. The institution does not create the cause. So that's what the prophet did. He created the institution for you to come in and at whatever, at that elementary level and learn, not to, lock it up in the club and, wearing sheet clothes and purple, wearing this mantle, and all that, to hinder you from going out. Remember, he said, go out on my word. That means go into the temple, learn what you have to learn, support the temple at all times. That doesn't mean that when you go out on the word that you find there, properly find there, that, you don't continue to support the temple, because there's other people who are coming in to that temple to learn also. So you want to make sure that it does remain there, because, it's built upon love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supposed to be anyway. So you want to support it, but that doesn't mean that you sit there and be what we call seat warmers and do reverse. He said, go out on my word. That means once you get that information and you go to the next degree of knowledge, you go out on that information, and you take your place amongst what? Your servant man, and lead yourself back up to the family of nations, and bring yourself back to the constitutional fold of government. That's what he said. That's what you're supposed to be doing. So how can you possibly link yourself up to the family of nations and take yourself back to the constitutional fold of government if you're in a temple that says, no, this is about, religion, dogmatic religion, that is. This is about religion, and the prophet didn't teach anything about civics. I mean, that's so obvious. And so at this point in time, why bother fighting with that? You have to know now. You are going to have to be able to discern. You are going to have to get this information and follow the dictates of your soul. All right, so we're going to take callers, and we're going to go to 214-567. You're live on the air.
Islam family. This is Abdul Malik Shakur Bay. I'm calling from Northwestern Mexico, the Texas Republic territory. I'd like to give a shout out to Anna L. Raz Morale. What's up, Miz?
What's going on? You all right?
Islam and Cujo. That's why I hear you, my Islam. I would just like to read a few things, and I'm listening to every word you say, and we battling that every day, but I just put the word on them. The gift of understanding are the treasures of Allah, and he appointed to everyone his portion, and what measure seeming good unto himself. He had endowed thee with wisdom. He had enlightened their mind with the knowledge of truth, communicated to the ignorant for their instruction, communicated to the wise for their own improvement. True wisdom is less pursuing than folly. The wise man doubted often and changes his mind. The fool is obstinate and doubted not. He knoweth all things but his own ignorance. The pride of infiniteness is an abomination, and to talk much is the foolishness of folly. Nevertheless, it is the part of wisdom to hear with patience the impertinence and the pity their absurdities. Yet be not puffed up in their own conceit, neither boast of superior understanding. The clearest human knowledge is but blindness and folly. The wise man feeleth his imperfections and is humble. He labored in vain for his own approbation, but the fool peepeth in the shadow streams of his own mind and is pleased with the pebbles which he seeth at the bottom. He bringeth them up and showeth them as pearls, and with the applause of his brethren delighted himself. He boasted of attainments and things that are of no worth, but where it is a shame to be ignorant, there he had no understanding. Even in the path of wisdom, he toiled after folly, and shame and disappointment are the rewards of his labor. But the wise man cultivates his mind with knowledge. Then the improvement of the arts is his delight, and their utility to the public crowned with honor. Nevertheless, the attainment of virtue he accounted as the highest learning, and the science of happiness is the study of his life. And again, the Moorish Temple of America is a lawful, chartered, and incorporated organization. Any subordinate temple that desires to receive a charter, the prophet, this the prophet speaking, the prophet has them to issue to every state throughout the United States, ETCT. Now, what your ancient forefathers were, you are today without doubt or contradiction. There is no one who is able to change man from the descent nature of his forefathers unless the power extends beyond the great universal creator, Allah himself. And ending, we, me and my wife and you at RBB Publication and other Moors of Mobile are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folk, black people, Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era time now, and all men must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained noble Jew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful way. Islam, I relieve the flow.
Thank you. He just read from the prophet's word. So, Islam. Islam. Thank you, brother.
Islam.
Right. Islam. All right, we have 719-232. You're live on the air.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, this is Brother Bukhari Bottle Bay coming to you from northwest of Mexico.
Brother Bukhari.
Islam Grand Sheikh Cujo, first and foremost, for the mother on the panel tonight, Mother Ras Ramaya V. Bay, honors to Grand Sheikh Cujo, and honors to Miss Raim, the sun on the panel, that brining hot light that burns deeply. I want to thank you all for the panel. I also want to give a shout out to Mother Anna Eid. I love you, just as everyone on the panel, and I hope she's doing well. Quick statement. I just want to say I have one bar, and I want you guys to, as soon as I start breaking up, just let me know, and I'll just yield the floor. I just want to make a couple of quick statements on some of my observations. And one of the first things is that cowardice and weakness are things that can cause jealousy. And one of the ways in which they are displayed in people in our movement is that we have a lot of individuals that are speaking about things, but they don't show any sort of conviction or any sort of activity, real activity. Case in point, Dane Calloway. I normally don't call people's names out. I normally don't do things of that nature. But this is beyond fraud. This is beyond deception. This individual sells status correction packets to Moors who call themselves black people. But yet he doesn't have a de jure nationality. He made his own statement. He made a statement coming out of his own mouth stating that he hasn't gotten time. He hasn't had the time to get around to filing his own paperwork. All right. Wow. So he's running around selling packets, and people are buying packets from him for protection when he doesn't have a nationality. He does not have a de jure nationality. All right. Now this obviously, you know, we've been under generations of confusion, enslavement, disinformation, misinformation, and that's one of the main reasons why they did not want the enslaved aboriginals to read. It was so that they could free themselves. All right? That's why given the Bible and pictures of a foreign national who assumed the name of Jesus so that they could worship him as opposed to their own nation. These are facts. These are simple things for you to be able to delve into your own mind and look into the writings as well of other scholars, of other people, prophets, etc. Speaking of the prophet made his position quite clear on many aspects as it pertains to our nationality, our bloodline, and how do we get back into that seat of government where we can control our own destiny as is our lawful right. It's not something that one needs to be fearful about speaking about or trying to make a change. But what you must do is you must study. You must study because this is not an act. The tail end of this century, or rather the past, let's say the past 400 years, does not encompass. In other words, the last couple hundred years does not encompass all that Moorish science is about, or the history of the world. And so you have to study so that you can know when someone is speaking whether or not they're talking out the side of their neck. Furthermore, you must know what their position is. You must ask questions. Why is it that even in the de facto government, these individuals who parade around, who are the descendants of foreigners to this land, who are the descendants of colonizers, murderers, etc., killers, people who are, many of them who are just involved or concerned about commerce. Why is it that you don't ask them questions? Why is it that many people are afraid to utilize writs? Because you're coward, because you're afraid, because you have a slave mentality. When the writ, a tool that can be utilized to free yourself, it is also a tool that can be utilized to establish one's position, to learn of one's position. When you write a document, or when you write a book, or you write some sort of anything, any form of literature that deals with your national position and your bloodline, you're telling the world, this is my position, this is my standing, this is where I'm coming from. And for those people who are in this movement, or who are thinking about getting into this movement, but have no care for the brother and the sister and the mother, then you are doing the same thing the colonists did when they came over here and prior to coming over here, because you're only involved in your own personal gain. You don't give a damn about the man on the East Coast or the West Coast. That's why there's so many different sections, aside from the fact that we've been infiltrated, aside from the fact that for generations and generations, others have been reaping the benefits, if you will, of this continent, of the trees, the hereditament, corporal and incorporeal. And so these are just simple, plain things that you don't need to be reading someone else's position, to be able to eloquate this information. Once you start studying and learning for yourself, no one will be able to enslave your mind like some of these fast-talking, loud-talking individuals like Dr. Reggie, Professor Larry, Sarah Sutton-Seti, Tarhaka Bey, San Netta. All of these fast-talking people, they are there for a reason, because they're put in the midst of individuals who have been misled and miseducated for generations. And it is a crime what they're doing. They are lower than the lowliest animal on this planet, because some of them, those that know, I should say, are lower than the lowliest animal, the lowest creature. In fact, it's simple. People, you must learn, whomever you're speaking to or whomever you're looking up to. If you don't know by now, ask questions. And if you're in an institution or a part of some sort of organization, group, or what have you, and you start asking questions, and you are berated because you're asking questions and you don't know, you need to leave, because that is emblematical what took place in enslavement. What did they do in enslavement? You could not read. You start asking questions. You were an uppity. You were, quote unquote, tagged as an uppity nigger. Oh, that's an uppity nigger. She's asking too many questions. We have to do something about that.
Don't question the word of God. Yeah, right. Yeah,
people think. If you can't ask questions, and if you're just going to go and listen to somebody because they have a fez on their head, or because they have some nice garments on, or because they know somebody who is influential in the movement, that's not enough. I'm here to tell you, I love Ras Ramaya, I love Anna Eid, I love Cujo, I love them all. I love them all. I have great, and what's more, I have a great deal of respect for them. But when I start hearing something crazy or something does not constitute, or rather something that is not direct alignment with what I've been talking about freeing ourselves in terms of having our rights, in terms of being able to determine, because what it boils down to, why are you coming into Moorish nationhood? Why are you proclaiming, or why are you sending out documents? For what reason? So that you can go to Social Security and get benefits? No, that's not what you're here for. So that you can go through birthright, birth certificate authentication. No, that's not what this is about. This is so that you can feed your family on your ancestral estate. Be yourself. This is so that you can learn about the wonderful things that melanin can do for you. This is so that you can learn about self-discipline. This is so that you can learn about writing writs, because that's part of civics. You can't be a part of any government. You can't run government if you can't write a writ, if you cannot speak properly, if you cannot defend yourself. And furthermore, the reason, and I'm just about ready to yield the floor, furthermore, the reason the one man or one woman leader is obsolete, it's because it's not emblematic of a republic. A republic is of the people. So you need education throughout the masses. If you rely on one individual, what happens when that one individual is compromised or taken out? What then? Okay? So people, please, wake up. Start asking these people on YouTube, where is your proclamation? When did you send out your paperwork to establish your position to the world? I am indeed a Moor. Because if you're not ready to do that, you ain't ready to be. You shouldn't be looking to speak to anyone because you don't have any. Because you're just learning. If you haven't come to the realization that you, first and foremost, through study, through your own life experiences, through your feelings of things that have occurred and questions have come to your mind, and then you back that up with your own study, historical documents, etc., writs, treaties, things of that nature, congressional records, historical buildings, architecture. All of these things can assist you along your journey. But if you come into this movement and at no point in time in your life are you prepared to put pen to paper and say to the world, this is who I am, then just keep quiet and do your thing in your corner. But don't talk about people who have the conviction, respect for their foremothers and forefathers, put pen to paper and a document to the world, regardless of how that comes to them. Because if it wasn't for RV Bay Publications, I would not have example writ to follow. Because I have spoken to other Moors who were part of the MSTA. And those conversations were very brief. And on this, I don't have a problem with the Science Temple of America. The institute, as it was designed to function, is a beautiful thing, and it can do wonderful things for people. It's not the institution. I would love to have buildings all around Northwest Mexim, Southwest Mexim, etc., and all through the globe that are lawfully distributing documentation, assisting with helping people get their mind right, get them in tune with their bodies and their diet, etc. That's a wonderful thing. All right? But if it's not being run by the proper people who really have a love for their foremothers and forefathers and a respect for humanity as a whole, then it's not going to function properly. And with that, I say I yield the floor. Islam.
Islam, and thank you for that. Thank you, Brother Bukhari. I just want to say with the first, because I want to get to a couple more callers, but with the person that you're speaking of, it's interesting that you say that they're doing status packages, because that was their preempting, which is very cleverly and deceitfully done, where they were talking about some of the MSTA of A's, because we have to make that distinction between the proper intent of the MSTA of A and those who are improperly incorporated, not just because they're incorporated, but because there's a whole lot of people that open up temples, whether they're chartered right, chartered wrong. I mean, if you think it's bad just from what we see now, it's gotten worse in terms of people who open up a temple. They have no business opening up, not because it belongs to any particular charter or any particular place. It's because they have not studied enough. It's all about putting on that mantle to them. It's all about the ego, and they have not studied jack. They have not studied enough of the Prophet's work at all, or even outside of that, where he said the half has not been told. They really, there's going to be more of those in name only MSTA of A's as we come into the next time period and generation. So really need to get this straight now. But that one person put out this really well-done video, and they segued very deceitfully. They made people believe, that's why we posted up on the front page, we are not an MSTA of A. We don't have a 501c3. We do not take membership, because they segued it in talking about the MSTA of A in their improper manner, which as 501c's, which was right and exact, and then they segued through that and called RV Bay Publications an MSTA of A, therefore pulled away from anyone who may have been interested in the, well, they didn't really pull away, but that was their intent. Their true intent, I see now, was to try to get people to pull away from doing judicial notice proclamation and an allodial identification card, national identification card, so that they could then slip in what they're doing, because what the video they did sound good, look good, smell good, but it was very deceitful when it came to who we were. So it was very well done in terms of a well-done deceit, you know? And so now I see it was so that they could put themselves in a position where it looks like whatever we're talking about is wrong or whatever, but they did it dishonestly. And people coming in may not have recognized that because they did it so smoothly. You know, they was like smooth. Now they're selling packages, which is not what it's about, and don't even have an ill bay on their own appellation. So thanks for bringing that out. Wow, thanks for bringing that out. Peace and love to you. Thank you.
Okay. Can I steal 20 seconds?
Yeah, go ahead.
I am so sorry for the listeners that are, listening, but I have a track record of trying to speak quickly and getting off the floor. So I want to back up on this one last comment that does not relate to the subject matter this evening, and that is the Chapter 25. I would not know about Chapter 25 were it not for RV Bay Publications. I wouldn't, because no Moors that were supposedly a member of the MSTA of A came forward in a loud public voice on a public platform to share that with Brother Bokhari. But I want to tell you what I learned about Chapter 25 and about nationality here real quick. It is the holy covenant of the Asiatic nation, recently, and this has happened, I imagine, to all of the panel. At some point, you must own a good Moor that has gone through some difficulty. I'm very perturbed. Recently, a very well-renowned Moor who has put in some good work and has had some difficulty. And I sent out an email, and I'm not saying this to talk about myself, but I'm saying primarily for those who have an ear. Now, I sent out an email asking for assistance for the good Moor. And if you individuals who are a part of that chain of email have done something, then Islam to you. Now, whether it was fiat, whether it was a hello, a phone call, whether you sent a card, it's all love, and I appreciate that because the individual is deserving. But if you have not done that, if you have not done anything, then you have no idea what it is to be Moor. You have no idea what it is to be a Moor in this day and time, because this is when we need each other the most. Taj Tariq talking about things result in the death, the genocide of Aboriginal indigenous people globally for decades. Anaheed, Ras-Famaya, Cujo, the list goes on and on and on of Moors who have come out to say these things and talking about, not to mention, of course, certainly the Prophet did. He said that we're going to need each other more than, at this point, more than any other time. And if you can't see the importance of helping your brother and your sister out in a time of need, you don't need this. This is not something you want. You're in this for commercial or financial gain or some sort of ego tripping. And I would respectfully ask that you get the hell out of the movement, because this is not for you. This is for individuals who comprehend nationhood and nationality and loving one another and helping each other when we need help. Islam, I yield the floor.
Islam. Thank you, Brother Bakari. Thank you so much. All right. Peace and love to you forevermore. All right. So we have a couple more callers. Oh, I got to. We have 978. Hold on, wait a minute. 978-727. You're live on the air.
Hello, can I be heard?
Yes, you can.
Can I be heard? All right.
Yes.
Good evening, Molly. And to all the family. Man, this is tricky. You see, calling, right? I can get nervous thinking about, there's other people behind me waiting to get on the call. And then I'm going to start talking really fast, and I may sound like a fool. So I'm like, well, am I going to try to explain myself correctly at a moderate speed so that people can understand my point?
All right. Take the time.
I wanted to talk about water, okay? That's one of after air, water is the most valuable resource on the planet. Air is the first. If you don't breathe, air is the most valuable thing on the planet. If you don't breathe for like a minute and a half, you'll pass. If you don't drink water, you lucky to make it past, 6-7 days? Food is third. It's not gold. It doesn't go like that. It goes air, water, then food. All that material stuff is later. Those are the most valuable resources on the planet. Air, water, food. And I'm saying that because earlier I was talking to somebody, but I'm going to also talk about sovereignty because, there's people, you see, let me stay on track. Today I was talking to somebody, right, and for years now, I've been noticing, I've been to several so-called states, whether it's on the South, North Carolina, Maryland, Virginia, D.C., Massachusetts, Maine, and all these places I've been to, right? I noticed that every body of water is surrounded by Europeans in their houses. I like to go out in nature. I grew up as a kid playing with snakes in the jungle, all that. I seeing the animals, this is our home. But then, when I go into these places, wherever there's a body of water, it's surrounded by Europeans' houses, like like a strategic, warlike move to block indigenous people to have access from them resources. And then you got a European on the gate charging people to get in. You see what I'm saying? If you go to a river or lake, I remember going to ponds, and in this pond there's some European guarding it, and the ponds are surrounded by European houses, and they build their houses in a way that they all face around the water, in order to keep the indigenous people, the autochthonous people, from having access to that very valuable resource. So today, this conversation, resurfaced, but I'm going to keep going. For years, I've been watching this. I remember going to ponds, right, and I seen Europeans fresh off the boat, French, Germans, even Russian, on all these bodies of water. And I don't see Moors. And then today, somebody was telling me about, talking about a property. They went to check the property and stuff. And I'm like, man, look, I really not feeling that. I'm really not feeling that. You know, I could feel the vibe because the Europeans, they are living there right now. They're gonna target you right away because these people came here to steal, kill, so they could parasite and eat off the fat of the land. The same way they did in Africa, Australia, they have done here in America. It's not by accident that these people's houses are all over each and every single body of water. The other day I went to a spot, and the whole lake is closed. These Europeans own it. You can't go in there. So I'm like, people, and like Todd said, right, if they want to genocide you, right, they don't have to put a bullet in your head. There's more than one way to kill a cat. You see, the Tots talk about how they can stagnate your movement. Stagnate the water rots. You see, and die. Mm-hmm. It's the same. If they stagnate, if they block your access to natural resources that every human being needs to survive, they're killing you softly, you know? So I was thinking about that.
The universe is going to take care of that. The universe, yeah.
I want y'all to look into that. Whenever y'all go out and y'all go to any rivers, lakes, any bodies of water, watch how the Europeans are set up all around. All around. It's a circle of Europeans set up around the water. It's to block access to the real people of this continent from having access to the resources. I've been all over like North America, not to every single state, but many places, and everywhere I gone, I seen that. But the other thing is, I wanted to talk about sovereignty because I heard A.J. Mosquito from the Baltimore Police Department, the city of Baltimore, and I heard other suspected agents, right, talking about when I heard somebody saying, no, if they saying that word sovereignty, they terrorists. I'm like, man, how in the hell? I can't even tell you when was it that I learned what sovereignty means. I must have learned it when I was 8, 7. I don't even remember. But I know that I know what sovereignty means almost as long as I've been alive, since I was a child. It's a very simple word because it's Moorish language, and that's what we were telling the Europeans when they came to America. We are soberanos. And I'm going to read this, okay? I'm going to read this, and I'm going to read it the way I'm reading it, and then I'm going to explain what I'm reading. La soberanía es la autoridad más elevada o suprema donde reside el poder político y público de un pueblo. Una nación, un estado sobre territorio y sus habitantes. Por tanto, la soberanía es la independencia de cualquier estado para crear sus leyes, controlar sus recursos sin la coerción de otros estados. Por ejemplo, en algunos gobiernos como los de ciertos países, la soberanía reside en el pueblo, según la Constitución, del que emanan todos los poderes del Estado a través de los representantes elegidos por la vocación. Esta soberanía es denominada soberanía nacional. La violación de la soberanía de un país o de un Estado puede tener drásticas consecuencias, como el inicio de un conflicto bélico. En términos de la conquista y externos en un país, la soberanía es el dominio. Hold on, I gotta move down. Es el gobierno de un pueblo, una nación ejerce sobre sí mismo, oponiéndose al gobierno impuesto por otro pueblo o una nación. Okay, I'm going to explain this now, okay, that I read it. It says, the sovereignty, okay, who has the supreme claim over one's nation, people of that nation? The sovereignty is the authority, most elevated, supreme authority, where the power, the political and public power of a pueblo, a people, resides. one nation or state over a territory and its inhabitants. The sovereignty is the independence any state to create their own laws and control their own resources without the coercion of other states. For example, in some governments, the sovereignty resides on the people according to the Constitution. All the powers of the state. Yes.
No, go ahead. That's what the definition of the Constitution is. Go ahead.
Okay. Yes. The violation of the sovereignty of a nation of a state can have tragic consequences. The initial, like the initiation of a conflict, bellico. I don't know how to translate bellico. En términos de conquista, in terms of the conquest by foreigners of a nation, the sovereignty and the dominion of the government of a pueblo, a people, a nation, ejerce, how you say ejerce? Ejerce is over your own, imponiéndose, imposing itself to the government imposed to them by another nation. So a nation claiming its sovereignty has nothing to do with no damn terrorists. These damn filthy agents, or they must be very dumb. You see, they must be very dumb.
Are you there? Wow.
Oh man.
He seems to dropped out. Yeah, I wanted to. He didn't say his affiliation for the record. I was going to ask him that, but
they didn't want to hit.
I got.
But he was right on. They didn't want that.
Yeah.
I wanted to, because it's funny. He station the brethren said, and it's sad he can't get back in at this point. But he did say he was thinking about water to led him to the conversation of sovereignty. And I trust he'll call back in, but his point was well made, even where it ended at. But I just wanted to add on with the brother on the start. And this is from John Bouvier's Institutes of American Law, number 434, enumeration 434 in the Book of Things. And it's talking about avulsions and, sovereigns and property. So it says, it's talking about the water and islands. So it says, when an island is formed out of the sea or in a river by slow and imperceptible accretion, common law, it belongs in the case of the sea, or navigable river to the sovereign. And in case of rivers not navigable, that is about that point where the sea ebbs and flows to the owners of the adjoining islands. And I do recall being taught that, we are, the Moroccan Empire is, North, South, Central America and the adjoining islands. So, this conversation is them, like he said, they're filthy agents are super dumb, but I think it's more so counter them endeavoring to counter intelligence. Because like, oh no, let's paint this like this. Stay away from this because this is the conversation that takes them off the table. So therefore, they have to do everything they can to make it seem like this conversation is quote unquote terroristic and all of these things. but they're slanderers. Bush did it to Saddam Hussein when he was talking about, Saddam Hussein killed all the Mandelas. Mandela wasn't even dead. You know what I mean? It just it's for them to just slander. It makes up shit. I don't know.
All right. Oh man. Yeah. All right. So let me. There's 2 more callers I want to get to, and then we can. Wow. I do have his phone number though. I'm good. He didn't say his name. His appellation. I wanted to get that from him, but I will try to. He can't get back in now, but wow, we really appreciate that. So yeah. All right. So 2 more callers left, and this one is 682-702. You're live on the air.
Islam. Yes, I want to first and foremost send good energy to NIE, and I want to send good energy to Cujo, Roz, Israel. I appreciate everything y'all doing, helping me with this console, helping everybody with this console. I had a couple of questions. Y'all get nervous when I talk to y'all, man, because y'all help me out so much. I was asking, I'm about to prepare this writ for the ticket dismissal, and I was seeing at the bottom when they say CC, I guess concurrent or whatever CC is that
means
that
carbon
mean that
copy. No, that means carbon. That means a copy. Whoever you're sending a copy of that to, that you would list that there. That's what that means.
Oh, okay. So I would send them copies to everybody that I listed on that.
Yeah. Mhm.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't even do that on the last writ. I just put it on there. I didn't send them actually to
you
them.
definitely want to see these people so that they collude no matter what, but depending on who you're sending it to, it's going to be hard to collude and say that we never got it or whatever, or no one knows because you sent a carbon copy to different people in different positions regarding whatever it is that you're dealing with.
Okay, I appreciate that.
So you only send it to one, right? Okay, all right.
All right. Then my second question, you already said that I could sign my free national name, even though I haven't got the proclamation back. But does that put? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was saying, does that put like my name on the record in their system? I didn't want to.
No.
No.
It affirms who you are as you say you are at the time you say you are, and all Moor's issues are nunc pro tunc in regard to that, meaning now for then anyway. But see, here's the thing: we look to see, does it put my name on a record or in the file, or who are you dealing with? If you're dealing with a corporation, they're not. They're going to know who you are when you say who you are, and if you wrote it down or you signed it as such, then that's who they're dealing with. In other words, that record, it's about you understand what I'm saying? Notice to the agent is notice to the principal, and you do make the proclamation is a proclamation. It's not something that you give to someone to see if they're going to put it in their records. They might want to put it in what we call the circular file that you might send it to, which is the trash can. It doesn't matter what they do. It matters what you do. So you're not recording and for the record for some corporation that you may be dealing with, whatever it is you're dealing with. You know what I'm saying? You are who you say you are. And if you sign it like that, that's who it is. That's it.
All right. My last question I was wanted to ask is, so if there's a violation of right, I know you said I would have to put it on paper and I guess a complaint or a cause of action. But how will we sue them for the violations of rights, or how will we get some remedy or something back? Not something back, but make them pay for it so they don't do it again.
Well, that's where you hit them in the pocket there. But when we all collectively understand that the true lien against them is the Constitution and the rules and the laws of the land. That's the true real lien against them. So what you would have to do is, your cause of action, when you say what happened to you, you can read that and see how many ways they've actually violated you, by what you say happened. So that's kind of clear. So now you have that memorialized as record written down, and then, depending, you have to sue them really for those violations, even in violation of due process. But they're not even, like if you were suing, as Anita always says, to get your mind straight, if you were suing, you went into Walmart and you slipped and fell, you would know exactly who to sue. You would know exactly what to do. You got to look at these places for who they are, corporations. They may be pretending to be government. They may pretend that they're in court, but, they're not. So you find out who they are, and you find out who the CEO is, and if you're talking about a city situation or whatever, that would be the mayor, which is the CEO of that corporation that's calling themselves the city of whatever. You know what I'm saying? Or the governor, which is the CEO of the whole state. You see, so you have to look at it from that perspective. And that's
right. That's what I will. I'll go ahead.
And so you're dealing with violations of your rights, which are preserved. Like the Constitution doesn't give you rights; it just preserves the ones that you have. So that would be where ultimately you would, want to sue them in a federal venue.
And so I was.
But the first thing you have to do is like to help. Mm-hmm.
A cause of action, right? And then I was saying
that's your basis. So that's really you become a counter. You become a claimant or counterclaimant to whatever they're charging you with, or so-called charging you with, allegedly that you did, or whatever like that. And then it's easier, I think, to become a counterclaimant so that it stays within the same so-called alleged matter, if you will, and that's what your cause of action is, where you show where they violated all of the various rights that you have, which are that's the law. So they violated law. It's just as simple. Due process of law. Just violating any one part of that is a violation of all of it.
Right. So, and I would. Do you have some RV Bay, like the proper format for a cause of action?
Yeah. As a matter of fact, if you go on the Moorish Heritage and History School page, there's a whole course that was done, I believe, just down in class number 10 on how to write a suit. It's on the Moorish Heritage and History School page, and I think it is class number 10, I believe.
Okay.
And it's actually a in fact, if you've ever gotten any books from us, when we send you when we send the books, we have free giveaways, what I call giveaways, and I believe that class is in there as well, how to form a suit. And then if you read, I forgot what page it is now.
Well, I have.
No, but. Mhm.
Yeah, I have them books, so I'll look through them.
Yeah, look through them, and you'll see. I think one is how to form a suit, class number 10. It's not just email me at RV Bay Orders, and I can Well, it's on the site, on the Moorish Heritage and History School page. Trust me, some of the links got broken. I'm going to make sure that they're back up, but you will find it on Moorish Heritage and History School. All of the written classes that we've done in terms of the syllabuses are there, and number 10 is the one that deals with, either 10 or 9, that deals with how to form a suit or to write a suit. That should help you a lot.
Okay, appreciate that. And that would tell me who to send it to and who to send it to, or who to file it, or to file it in too.
Yeah. Right, because where it says the CCs, those CCs, that's what that's for, who you would also send to and send copies to. But now, if you have trouble with finding it or whatever, just email me at rvbayorders@gmail, and then I'll send it to you.
Okay. All right. Appreciate
All right.
that so much. All right.
All right, peace.
All right. It's time to see y'all. Peace and love.
All right, peace and love. Islam. We got one more caller right here. Wait a minute. Oh, this caller dropped off. I saw them drop off, so let me just call them, and then I got one more after that. And that would be 914-967. Okay. That's television, or they can have some practice. That call was on, dropped off, and then came back. So I guess they wanted to serenade us with some music there. All right, let me make a note on that. That was what? 914.
Music they was listening to. I said, pay attention to the type of music they were listening to, though. Even that in itself is a message. You know what I mean? It sounds like the harp. It sounded like there was the harp. I could be wrong, but it did sound like that.
That was a piano, and it was more classical, like from the classical thing. All right, we got one more. Let me see.
Hold on. Like, in that music, because you got to remember, that's still dealing with the science of the 7. And, just those tunes can definitely stimulate certain thoughts, depending on where your mind state is at. Remember in the movie Django, the German dude, he kind of went crazy at the end because they wouldn't stop playing the harp, because he had mad, wild thoughts on his mind. And that's what it was invoking. So it depends on where you're at, like what the music does for you. And I didn't want to miss the point, you know what I mean?
All right. Yeah, it does depend on where you are.
Where you?
Well, I had another caller. Where you are? Yeah. Right. Right. I think I've covered all of the callers, but I had 228-67, and I think they dropped off. They can't get back in. Wow. Okay, I just want to make sure I've covered all the callers, and I do believe that I have. Unfortunately, 914. 967 was the music. And, there's 2 numbers. I'm sorry, let me try this again. How can I have the same number at the same time? Let me try this one. I think this is the same one. Yep, that's him with the music. And the number is again with the music. I don't know how that's possible, but it's possible. Now, I just want all the listeners to know that this is interesting because this caller was on the line, and I was going to them next. They had dropped off earlier, and then I saw them come back on, but they are on the line twice with the same exact number, doing the same exact song, which is kind of interesting, all right, with that music. And the last caller was 228-627, but it looks like they dropped off, so we can't get to him. And that looks like, there's one more caller right here. This will be our last caller. 803-331. You're live on the air. 803-331. Okay, they're not there. So it looks like we have done our last caller for the evening. We will be back here tomorrow for, what's tomorrow? For our Circle of Readers, last 2 chapters of White Cargo. Is there anything else that you would like to add, Liz, before we close out?
No, just peace and love to everyone. You know, again, great energy towards everybody on the E. Big shout out to her. All Moors that are studying and won't, you know, allow themselves to have the wool pulled over their eyes, you know. And you, man, RV Bay Publications. And again, like, I can't emphasize enough that everybody who's doing their due diligence, like really diligent with their studies, you know, and those who are getting there. Big acknowledgement to you all. And, you know, we'll be back. I know you'll be on tomorrow. We'll be back next Tuesday. Mm-hmm. All right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Islam, peace and love to all. Close out music. I wasn't ready for that. I'm getting this together now because you know he's usually at the helm. It says close out national principles, but that's not the right one. I found that out. I can't find it. I'm just going to have to use that one. I'm sorry because.
It's all good.
Yeah, no, I forgot to set myself up for the closeout music, and the last one. Okay, I'll do this one. All right, so everyone, we'll see you here tomorrow at 7:30 for the Circle of Readers, last 2 chapters of White Cargo, going right in line with the brother who said, you know, they come and they, you know, live by the water. And I wanted to say, I think I did say that, you know, but the universe and Mother Nature is taking care of all of that. We have all of these upheavals. As the prophet said, if you do not refrain from this, what we call sinful ways, meaning lack of knowledge is a sin, quite frankly, that the great God of the universe, our great God Allah of the universe, will not be pleased, and there will be earthquakes and floods and all sorts of things like that. So a lot of these modern Europeans who build on the sea or close to the water, who also have built on the sides of mountains, and you have mountain slides. Nobody's wishing any bad luck or anyone like that, but they were warned from the beginning. The ebb and the flow of nature comes. Do not build your house so close to this coast here. And so it is just in nature what is going to be going. What is going on is exactly what it's always been prophesied to be going. So, Islam, peace and love to all. We'll see you tomorrow at 7:30.
Indeed. Give me a beat.
Cujo, you still there?
No, Cujo signed off a little while ago.
I thought so. That was you. All right.
My sister, is that what are some of the misunderstandings of the Moorish history that our people really need to understand?
Wow, that's vast.
Just going on.
It's just so vast.
Right.
Because, you know, like, wow. The main thing is people don't know anything about their nationality or birthrights, or that they are a Moor. Or, well, let's start with what is a Moor. You know, that would be the first thing. It's like, what is a Moor? And what is, you know, like, they'll say all this stuff about a Moor, Moor, Moor. I mean, it is the manifestation of the being into the flesh, the being who travels upon the waters of the earth, but first beginning in the waters and also the land of the earth, but beginning in the waters of their mother's womb. So when you look up the word Moor, it just doesn't mean a noun. It's actually an action. So it means that since man is mind and we're all spirit, and then we come into the flesh, so we travel upon the 7 stages of development in the waters of the mother's womb. That's mooring. Right, and then when we're done, we get cut from the navel, which is navigating L. And then we become navigating L's upon the earth plane. So you start there. So if that was understood and accepted, there would really be no problem, because people will say, well, I don't have to be anything to be whatever. Well, I just explained to you what that is. It means that if you came to the womb, then you were mooring, and you were mooring through the 7 stages of the waters and the 7 stages of development in your mother's womb. And then you didn't have to be called anything, because that's just what it is. So those who actually call themselves Moors are actually saying, I'm not anything except that I am, that I am. That's really what's being said. So that's the first misunderstanding.
Right. What about the misunderstanding of Moors being a group?
No.
Or organization, or a movement or crew? Because many people say, I'm not down with the Moors, or I'm not a Moor. They attribute it to a card-carrying group.
Right. Well, first of all, in all of this, we got to at some point get into what Prophet knew what you all live, because that's something to really clear up. But first of all, when people say, I'm not down with the Moors, what are the Moors doing? Well, they need to look at themselves and say, what are you doing? Because you're a Moor, whether you recognize it or not. Again, just giving the explanation of what that is.
From the militant aspect of it, like the militant, quote-unquote, so-called militant group that's out there, a lot of them seem to can't get with the Moors because they say they are integrationalists.
Who?
Integrationalists, meaning that y'all don't mind white people being Moors, or white people can come amongst you.
Okay.
Let's talk more about that as well.
Well, the first thing...
Because our people still dealing with the black and white issue.
You just answered it. But be honest with you, you just answered it. They're dealing with the black and white issue, which is absolutely a farce and has nothing to do with these issues. That's the problem. This black and white issue is what was set before them to deal with, to be a diversion. All right? Now, I'm going to tell you what I think about the what you call militant, but they're really the warriors, with, I would say, without a cause, because this is the cause. The cause is to protect family. And that starts with mother and the children. But now, as far as this black and white, go back to that because it's important, is that was what was placed in the front. And what we need to recognize is that so-called white people, because we got to stop. You know what? We're saying that we got to stop calling ourselves black. But equally, once you understand that, you got to stop calling these people white. Not just because white is a political status, or white means purity, and purity means God, and God is the ruler of the earth. It's because they're not white people, period. If it goes for us, it goes for them. Now, their nationality, they gave it up when they came over here to try to take your stuff, your land, your estate. They had to give up their nationality to become a United States of America citizen, which is a corporation. Now let's get straight with why that's important. If it's a corporation and you are a citizen / member of a corporation, there's nothing for you to be but a employee / servant of a corporation. There's no other nothing there to be. It's no such thing as that, because the whole deal was to birthright theft. The whole deal was, where's my land that for them? The whole deal was like, this is really the quote unquote promised land. This is really the quote unquote heart of civilization. This is really what you might call Northwest Africa. And I say that to people so they can stop saying I'm going back to Africa and understand that they're in it.
This is the Garden of Eden.
It's the Garden of Eden.
That's what they had in Columbus's journal that they arrived.
Absolutely.
In Eden.
So what has happened is absolute lies.
Milk and honey.
That's right. And the land of milk and honey is another terminology. So these things are important because as you're doing studies and you read books, well, however old they may be or whatever like that, and if it says the land of milk and honey, you need to know they're talking about the North American continent. If you don't know that, then you miss it, and that's part of our problem. That part of our problem is the miseducation. We have been lied to.
I want to go back to what you were saying earlier about the nationality concept. There are brothers and sisters that are claiming that they're sovereign, but they have, driver's license and they still have slave names. So can you please explain or clarify for those brothers and sisters out there that, they are following the concepts of sovereignty, but if you are a national, if you are a U.S. citizen, it can only be property or 14th Amendment citizen. How does that contradict with your claim for sovereignty?
Well, first of all, and this is absolutely, unequivocally, most important, you do not have sovereignty if you don't have a nationality.
None.
No.
It comes first.
It comes with it.
Exactly.
In other words, sovereignty doesn't stand on its own.
Can't.
It comes with nationality.
Yes.
So the unity for everybody is nationality. Everybody got one. What's yours?
So what if there's an organization that says that they have a nation?
Okay, an organization that says they have a nation, first of all, nations start with women.
Yes.
That's number one, coming from her womb. Mm-hmm. She is the one who creates nations. So there's a bunch of some brothers, sons somewhere talking about they started a nation. That's corporate. That's fictitious. In fact, this whole thing about nationality wouldn't even be a thing if it wasn't for the fact that people respected and honored their mothers and fathers from the first place. Because one mother's breast had given us all suck. One mother's breast had given us all suck. One.
I want you to go into this whole thing of dealing with sovereignty. Okay. What is it to be a sovereign?
To answer this question, then people might wake up and realize that the police are not the authority. Because you can't say that you're born free and that you can't say, see, in other words, if you knew that government starts with family, society starts with family. And so does, and my son always tell me this, and I got it, so does the authority of government with family. So who could be out across walking the earth plane, Terra? Who could be out walking here that has an authority over you if, in fact, you have a right from birth to do whatever you want to do, provided you do not infringe on someone else's right to the same. That's the order of society. That's what should be taught. That's what should come out of the household into family. When does a police, now you want to really talk about that,
yeah, go ahead.
You need to recognize that the police are policy enforcers, first of all. They are policies enforcers. So how do they get, who are they? Who hired them? They're corporate employees. And you look, there's a state law that says that police are there to protect the interests of the corporations. Hello? So whatever they're doing, it ain't meant for you. And all these warrior sons out there, if they could just get this, and I know they will, and I know the next generation coming, standing, still living right now, breathing right now, will have it because they have no right and authority over you as family. Our problem is lack of knowledge and the intended deceit and trickery done, because even those who read the Biblios Heliotext that you call the Bible says he shall fool even the most elite. So even those who think they're highly educated and this and that, they've been fooled. That's it. It's not really complicated. Now, as far as that, that's really explains sovereignty. It begins with family. And the Constitution is written based on the spiritual. It's a spiritual document. It's the most spiritual document that exists, even though it wasn't written for Moors. Because the authority was from the people of the land that wrote it to keep other citizens and people in check from violating you. And at minimum, if we were to enforce that, we would be in much better shape. My goodness, much better shape. Now, Black Panthers, right? In case you would bring that up, I would bring that up because some people do that. Well, they had, they were in the courts with guns. Yep, but they had one problem.
What was that?
They called themselves black, and it's just that simple. And even though that may not have been coming into play as heavy, they have all been set up to steal your birthright. That means your right to birth. That means the right for you to just be here and breathe and do what you do and co-create with the universe. That's what's being stolen. And then when you take it to another level, to steal the land so that you can't feed yourself, to say that you got to buy that which is really your estate and inheritance. So when you look at it that way, they knew they would kick in the fact that, oh, they got guns. Yeah, they're allowed to have firearms. They kick in that you're 14th Amendment citizen, but they ain't going to tell you that. They're not going to sit there and tell you, we got jurisdiction over you because you just said that, you know, your name was, you just said, I live at. They're not going to tell you that. They're going to roll over you like you weren't there because that's the name of the game, because jurisdiction means the right to speak.
Mm-hmm. How do one determine their nationality?
From their mother.
But how do you know that you are
one mother's
Moor?
Breast has
How
given...
do you know you are Moor and what tribe you come from without taking DNA tests or
okay,
stuff
fine.
like that?
I'm going to straighten that out for you. First of all, we're going to take the word tribe. Let's get it straight. Tribe is nothing but a family name. That's it. People keep wanting to take this word tribe and make it like I'm from this tribe and this nation and I'm from that tribe. Get it straight. Tribes are family names of the same people from the same nation. And Moors, if we could get back to the definition that I gave in the beginning, then we would get it. Then we would have it. You see what I'm saying?
Right. Okay, beautiful. Does race mean nationality or skin color?
Skin color doesn't mean anything because there's no such thing as skin color other than the terminology. It's a matter of what degree of melanin you have, and that's one of the things that people have done is they have determined, they have divided up people like crayons with skin colors and tones. So race is this. There's only one race, and that is the human race. And within that human race are different nationalities. And the nationalities are determined from the mother. And now to get into that, because see, one mother's breast have really given you suck. That's why, as you may have recently heard about, you know, I think it was a so-called Chinese national that said that he did his DNA, and he's going to prove that, you know, he's a pure Chinese. And when they did the DNA, it came back to Africa. Because it's only one, the Moabite African woman is the mother of civilization in terms of this human family. Period. There's nothing else, and then everything else is in between that. And then when we did the experiments or whatever, which could be a different thing, now our sons started reading into those, and that became a different nationality. Now, the whole thing is about the matriarch. No, that's another thing. It's about it's really all about family. It really is.
If you had the power, and you do, to correct, quote, black history, unquote, where would you start?
I would start where they started. And I would say to people, if you believe that your history started on a slave boat, I can guarantee you that's where it ended too. That's what I would say. That's what I would say. Then, after saying that, and so don't believe me, go back and do some studies past the 1700s, and I'll guarantee you, as sure as you're sitting there listening or wherever you are, watching, listening, you will find nothing but the word Moor. And that's another thing. Because we weren't called black then. Description, maybe, black or Moor, whatever, but that's it. Know the difference between a description and an actual, person, place, or thing, noun. I mean, really, who were the British? They were the brutish Moors. And if there's anything that could be added to this day about this, is that we were fighting each other. The European never had nothing to offer, never had nothing to give. It was us fighting ourselves. And we've proven that the British were the brutish Moors with the pictures that we show of King George. And then, I put it up on the site and they wanted me to qualify. I got somebody writing, I think they were Europeans too. Your site is great, except for when you put up pictures like this and you don't verify the source, then it diminishes it. So we scurry to make sure that I got the right source. And it's in a museum in London.
I heard a lot of scholars. I heard a lot of teachers teach that the word Moor really means black.
Well, the word Moor doesn't really mean black, but if you were to deal with things, anybody who was a Moor at a time, the description of them was black. That's just like saying black. Yeah, it really was copper-colored people. And when you're dealing with people who have no melanin, copper, you know, the definition of American, which is a Moor, Al Morocco, America, this is it, right? It says copper-colored people. The various copper-colored people. The various. That's the true definition of American. You can find it in Webster's 1935 dictionary. That's the true definition. So anything that's not quote-unquote pale skin, because see, remember now, the so-called Indians are supposed to be the real Native Americans. No, Moors are the Native Americans. Yes. Look at it. Look at that.
And if the breast of one mother giving us up, that's what determines right there. You know?
Right.
I'm one of those very copper-colored people. I always been called, people say, "Are you Indian?" all my life. And you know, but here's the thing. The Indian is supposed to be the Native American.
Right.
But this is not India. Moors are Native Americans. But some don't want to call themselves Native Americans because it's been given to the so-called Indian. Well, bring it back, because you have to bring it back, because until you come right, it ain't going to get right.
Let's go back to slavery right quick.
Yes, I did want to say.
Why do you think the Moors, the historical Moors, enslaved the European, the so-called white man, and do you think it is now just coming back to us? Why did they have to put them in slavery?
Because they wanted the European to remain the slaves. Because the Europeans were Slavics. They are the original slaves.
But why? They didn't see them as human?
They weren't. They were mixed with the DNA of animal. It was an
You gotta
experiment.
go into that. Like, what kind of animal?
The chimpanzee. The Negro, Negro, Negro Yavara, chimpanzee. The true Negro is them.
Now, I'm going to tell you something.
And so many people have this argument. Well, wait a minute, if we're all Moors, no, they're not us. But here's the deal, now we got to go to CM Bay now. Because, see, we've already done it. And the only way, the way they came is the way they're going to go. It's called the blending back. So when you see brothers and European daughters together or whatever like that, that's what's happening. It's the blending back. Now, the other thing that goes with that is that at one time, that's how this thing came, because women vibrate higher than men. So as we were doing this, the men were more sickly and like that. You know, they died, the European sons. But the women were not, because women are always vibrating higher. They have 100% of the DNA, etc. And so they were having babies at like 14. You know, so that wasn't a long time for a quote-unquote generation. And so the sons were the ones put in the cave. That's why they called them, you know, the caveman, and they came out of there doing bestiality and all that, because they didn't have no women, because you had the women. Now, the sons treated the women, the European daughters, pretty good. They recall that, but they still wanted to revolt, and that is what the American Revolution was about. The daughters of the American Revolution. What did they have to revolt against? They had to revolt against being in the harems, or in concubines in the harems of the Moorish sons. Now that's real.
And it was the children of
the children
of the European women that revolted and killed their fathers. They
exactly
against the Moorish fathers.
Right, because see, nationality and inheritance comes through the mother, not the father. Never. He's a steward. And when we get that straight, we'll be straight.
But don't the father determine the seed?
No,
you
the
are
father,
what your father is. You saying that you are what the mother is?
Yeah, you, Sanetta, are what your mama made you. You best believe. And anything short of that is dishonor to your mother.
But inside of the sperm, there's intelligence.
No.
There's light.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm not disagreeing with you. But let me put it to you.
Go ahead.
The seed is not your sperm. That's the first thing that has been told. That's a lie. The seed is the seed of thought. That's the seed. All right? So walking around thinking, well, the seed is what comes out of my penis, you know, when we're having sexual intercourse, is incorrect. Not only that, that whatever comes out of there was given to you by your mother, or not. And we can have another interview on that.
You know what? This is interesting because I was interviewing a few people on this same topic. They brought it up. And the brother said that the egg that's inside is just a dead egg until that life.
Okay,
because
all right.
we carry the life in it that strikes the egg.
Carry the spark of life.
Right.
I'm not going to disagree with that.
Okay.
So check it out. I'm glad you said it and you put it on the table. All that is needed, every daughter that is born with enough eggs in her womb to create a nation. All that those eggs need, and there's some that don't need it, is a spark of electricity.
Mm-hmm.
And your sperm offers a spark of electricity. But that's not the only way to get the spark. You better believe that. That's why they have intravenous where they put it in the centrifuge and it's gold line because gold is a spark.
Please don't tell me. Please don't tell me you believe or you subscribe to the teachings that a woman could give birth without being touched by a man.
Yeah, well, she most certainly can. And if you would like to have an interview on that and give you all the science on it, you most certainly can because that's what parthenogens were for.
Parthenogens.
Yes, that's what parthenogens, which is a building that the women went to, and they give all the credit to Greeks. That's not Greek pathogens.
Can you show me one woman on the planet that has brought forth a child without being...
Amazon women always did it. The amazing women, they always did it. You know that to be true. And that's South America. Oh, yeah, you got to laugh now.
And in biology, something called autofecundity in biology.
Yeah, that's true. It's in biology.
Well, Natural Tahuti going to love this right here,
and
bro.
Also, like you said, the sisters, the daughters now who don't have mates, they don't have men as mates, are being artificially inseminated and having birth.
Yeah.
You know, without the usage, they're utilizing sperm, but without a man.
No, but that's different.
But the other reason why women the other reason why women aren't doing that as often is because of we're not taking care of ourselves in terms of eating right and vibrant. Yes, right. Sir. Yes, sir. Okay. You got another question?
What is the woman's role? What is the science of woman in government?
Oh, she's the lawgiver. She lays down the law. Give you an example in a very intrinsic way. When you were born in your household, your mother laid down the law. Women run houses. If you ever, and the father enforces it. Thank you. If you ever find a house, that's right.
I said that because I was about to say something else.
Yeah, but you only enforced that which was laid down.
I agree with what he said. Yeah.
Yeah, you only enforce. See, that's the whole thing. People think that when we give this information and we're trying to disrespect or throw out the son. No, everything has to be in order because without that, then it becomes a real problem. But I've met women that say, yeah, the man runs the house, and I'm saying, well, that's a messed up house because there's no man that runs the house. I mean, if he...
At Carrabba's Italian Grill, when we talk about our family bundles, people can't help but say,
wow, I can bring home an entire meal made from scratch.
Choose from homemade entrees like spaghetti and meatballs with salad and bread, all ready to go. So
I can get Carrabba's family bundles for pickup or delivery? Wow.
Order your family bundle tonight at Carrabba's.